Hi everybody! Welcome back. Chapter 6, More Secrets. I hope you guys had some good predictions. Matthew had predicted that the two people were going to be boyfriend and girlfriend, or had been, and he was right. So that was pretty cool. Nice prediction, Matthew. We're going to keep going here. By the time the plaster cast was dry, Grandfather decided it was time to get out of the midday heat. They all climbed into their canoes and pulled back to the Muskogee village. "Thanks for your help," Henry said to Irene as they walked up the dock. "We wouldn't have found that print on our own." "Glad I could help," she said. "Ranger Belden is a good friend. I hope you find him soon." Jesse came up just then. "Grandfather says we're stopping at the information center since it's on the way back to the hotel." "Thanks, Irene. You were a great guide." Irene walked the Aldens to the rental car and waved as they drove down Route 41. "If no one has heard from Andy today, I'm going to speak to the head of the park service down here," Grandfather said, pulling into the parking lot of Shark Valley. "At least we have one clue," said Benny. He had the odd-looking plaster print in his lap. "Maybe," Violet said. "This heel print might not have anything to do with Andrew's disappearance. It could belong to any tourist who stopped to explore like we did." "You could be right," said Benny, but deep inside he felt the heel cast was part of the mystery. For once, the information center wasn't very busy. Melanie Harper was at the front desk, straightening a stack of maps. Her face showed she recognized the Aldens, but Jessie couldn't read any expression. She couldn't tell if Melanie was glad or irritated to see them. "Before you ask," Melanie said, "we heard from Andrew. He called in about an hour ago." Andrew's grandfather sighed with relief. "That's wonderful. Where is he?" "He's sick," Melanie replied, dusting the counter with a rag. "He won't be back for a while." "Sick?" inquired Henry. "What's wrong with him? How long will he be out?" Melanie shrugged. "He didn't say, and I didn't ask. I've been doing both Andrew and Mai's work for almost a week now. Our supervisor has noticed what a good job I'm doing." She smiled smugly. "I'll probably get a promotion." "So you're saying Andrew won't have a job when he comes back to work?" Jessie asked. She didn't like Melanie's tone. The other ranger acted as if she was glad Andrew was sick. "Oh, he'll have a job," Melanie replied. "But not this job." She picked up the microphone and announced briskly that the film would start in 5 minutes. It was clear she wasn't going to talk to the Aldens anymore. The few tourists wandering around inside headed for the door. The Aldens followed. Outside, it seemed hotter than ever. In the parking lot, they were amazed to see an enormous alligator stretched out. He yawned mightily, showing several rows of pointed teeth. "Wow!" cried Benny. "Look at that!" Violet snapped several pictures from a safe distance. Henry gave a low whistle. "I bet he's at least 9 feet long." "Can we go now?" Jessie said nervously. She didn't like alligators in parking lots. They were scary enough in the water. Grandfather opened the car door for her. "I'm not crazy about them either," he said to her. "Besides, the alligator was taking up 2 parking spots." Giggling, Jessie hugged him, then climbed into the front seat. Grandfather always knew the right thing to say. Next, they had to find a place for lunch. "Any suggestions?" Grandfather asked. "How about that barbecue place near here?" said Violet. "The barbecue place it is," said Grandfather. A few minutes later, they arrived at the red wooden building. They were the only customers, so service was fast. Soon they were eating chicken sandwiches, french fries, and corn on the cob, washed down with sweet iced tea. It had been a long morning. No one said much until the waitress brought another pitcher of iced tea, refreshed and full, and they discussed the mystery. "If Andrew's been sick all this time," began Violet, "why didn't he tell anybody? Why didn't he at least call his father?" "Maybe he was too sick," said Benny. Grandfather squeezed lemon into his glass of iced tea. "Benny has a good point. Andrew might have been too ill to pick up the phone and call before today." "Then why didn't his landlady say so?" Jessie asked. "We were there and she never told us Andrew was sick." She wouldn't tell us anything, except to go away, Benny said. He could be sick someplace besides the rooming house, Henry put in, but that doesn't seem very likely. I think Melanie acted weird, Violet said. She seemed happy Andrew was out sick. Jessie nodded with her in agreement. We need to watch her. I think she might be the key to this mystery. Maybe the mystery is over, said Grandfather. I'll call Andrew when we get back to our hotel. If he's been out sick, I'll call his father and tell him so. And then we'll go back home. Benny asked. He wasn't ready to leave Florida yet. He had gotten his first wish to see an alligator. But now he had a second and even better wish. Here's the Alden children eating their lunch at the barbecue place. See the two girls, Violet and Jessie, and Benny and Henry. I don't know why they don't trust Grandfather there. It seems like he'd probably be at the table too. We'll see, Grandfather smiled. Let's head back to the hotel, okay? On the drive back, Jessie was thinking about Melanie. Was it possible that Andrew had called in before and Melanie had taken the call? Maybe Melanie had pretended she hadn't heard from him so she could get his job. At the Flamingo Hotel, Mrs. Johnson waved a pink slip at Grandfather. Everything about the hotel was pink, thought Violet, even the notepaper. Message for you, Mr. Alden. A man called this morning, right after you left. It sounded pretty urgent. He'd like you to call him back right away. Mrs. Johnson left the hall. Grandfather looked at the paper. It's from Tom Belden. He wants to know what I've learned about his son. I don't want him to be upset, especially since we've been out of touch for several days. I'll call him now, before I check on Andrew. He went upstairs. Jessie looked at Henry, you know what? While Grandfather is on the phone with Mr. Belden, we could go to Andrew's rooming house and see him in person. Great idea, Jessie, said Violet. Grandfather doesn't mind if we walk around the block, or 2 blocks. Henry was already out the door. The others quickly caught up with him. A cool breeze stirred the royal palms. The sky was dark in the west. A storm was brewing. By the time they had reached Old Lady Applegate's boarding house, fat drops of rain had begun to fall. Gus wasn't sitting on the screened-in porch, but the swing was moving slightly, as if he had just gone inside. Jessie knocked on the front door. After a moment, the door cracked. An eye popped out. What do you kids want? The gruff voice undoubtedly belonged to the landlady, Old Lady Applegate. To see Andrew Belden, Henry spoke up. We heard he was sick. Yeah, added Benny. We came to cheer him up. He's not here, said the landlady. That's impossible, said Violet. We just heard Andrew's sick. Where else would he be? The door opened inward so fast Jessie nearly fell over. All right, said Old Lady Applegate ungraciously. You don't believe me? See for yourself. Andrew Belden's room is the second door on the left. Don't touch anything. We won't, Henry promised. We just want to visit him. The kids filed down the hall. Andrew's door was closed. The landlady unlocked it with a ring of keys. She stood behind them to make sure they didn't go inside. Benny noticed the Panther poster on the wall right away. He'd like to have one like it. Andrew's room was fairly neat. The bed was made. His books were stacked by size in a bookcase. No shoes or clothes littered on the floor. Now do you believe me, Old Lady Applegate demanded? If Andrew Belden is sick, he's obviously staying someplace else. He's bet behind in his rent, too. If he doesn't pay up by the end of the week, I'm renting his room to somebody else. What will happen to Andrew's things? Violet asked. She had noticed the photographs on Andrew's desk. The landlady shrugged. I'll box them up and store them. If Andrew doesn't claim his stuff soon, then I guess it's mine. Henry leaned inside the doorway just a little. Along the wall behind the door was a dresser. One drawer was pulled out, and a sock hung untidily over the edge. You can see Andrew's not here, the landlady said, clearly flustered. She pulled the door shut hastily. Henry wondered if she had something to do or something to hide. Did everyone connected with Andrew Belden have a secret? Yes, said Violet. We'll leave now. Outside, the rain shower had passed already. Steam rose from the sidewalk. Violet asked the others, Did you guys see all the Panther books in Andrew's bookcase? And that neat poster, added Benny. Roar! Melanie was right about one thing. Andrew is definitely obsessed with the Florida Panther, Jessie stated. She shook her head, but Andrew's room looked as if he hadn't been there in days. I saw something too, said Henry. A moldy piece of bread sitting on the table. It takes several days for mold to grow, and I bet if he'd been here, he would have thrown it away. Why would he leave all his things? Violet wondered. He has some very nice books and pictures. I don't know, Jessie answered, but I think we ought to learn about the Florida Panther. If it's Andrew's obsession, it should be ours too, at least until we find him. Henry tapped the side of his head. Good idea, Jessie. If we want to find Andrew, we have to think like him. All right, Chapter 7 is called Wildcats and Radios. All right, so we've found out some clues. We know that Melanie Harper, the park ranger, is probably not telling the truth about what she knows, because she said Andrew's sick, but where would he be? That's his house. That's where he lives, is that old lady Applegate's, and he's not there. So the odds of being sick and not being at home aren't usually very high unless he's at the hospital, but you'd think his dad would know probably if he's at the hospital, huh? So, I don't know. Let's make some more predictions. What could a Chapter 7, Wildcats and Radios, what's going to happen? What are we going to find out? We still have a couple more chapters before the end. Do you think we're going to find Andrew Belden before the end of the book? Let me know. All right, have a great Thursday, guys. I'll see you on our Friday Zooms.
Bye.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Great day. We'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.